what are fans allowed to do? Meaning, are fans allowed to do what it is they think? And because, a lot of times, a lot of things are normalized, is it okay for fans to do certain things? For example, I've always looked at, and I've looked at many moments, the fan and celeb relationship, right? The celebrity, the fan, they've always had some kind of interesting, sometimes relationship, particularly as social media, became a thing. So I wanted to think, what are fans allowed to do in regards to how they support what they like or who they like? Is there a rule or unwritten rule that they have to follow? Or is it just based on a case by case basis, based on whoever they support, and then that person or persons will decide, what's right for them? Because I think to myself, when I look at sometimes the back and forth that can sometimes take place between maybe an artist, maybe a fan online, and I think like we're in a time where it's actually crazy to think that a fan can sometimes say what they have to say and they can end up in a back and forth with somebody that's known just at the drop of a hat. And I think to myself, or what are fans allowed to do? Are they allowed to state whatever it is they want to state? Because at the end of the day, are they, looking at it from maybe a perspective of I support somebody or I support this, and I'm well within my rights to say what it is I need to say. So what are fans allowed to do? I saw, for example, this artist called Little Pump, right? I saw a clip of him giving PlayStations away, PS5s away. He was doing like a giveaway outside of like some venue, and he had a truck and he was giving it out to a group of people. And I saw a mum standing there with her kids, and she, received the PlayStation. She received it. He gave it to her, and she was not happy at the fact that she didn't get another one. She asked for another one, and I was thinking to myself, what? You came to a meet and greet. You got a free PS5, and you weren't happy, and you actually had the nerve to even try and go back and forth with the boy. And I was thinking, but you are fans allowed to? These are some of the points I'm looking at. Like, are fans allowed to do that if, for example, you've been given something, or something good came of something for you, to even attempt to ask and get annoyed the fact that, I think she mentioned something about her standing there for a while and they had to wait, but hey, you chose to get out your house and come and get, these free PS5s. And I was thinking to myself, are fans allowed to do that? You even see stuff like this thing called stream sniping, where streamers will be outside, streaming, and now you can literally jump into their stream and meet them and locate where they are and pull up on them. And I've seen, I'm thinking, okay, it happens and it's normalized, but what are fans allowed to do? Is that something fans are really allowed to do, or is it just something, again, that depends on the person, depends on how they see it, how the known person sees it? Because I think sometimes from a perspective of just looking at the nuances of things, and I think, okay, fans obviously can do what they believe they want to do, if they support someone, but is there a barrier that maybe they're not allowed to pass? And is that barrier based on, a particular person, a particular artist, a particular entertainer? Do they have to make that distinction of what they believe is far and not far? It's like sports people. You may perform, for example, in football. I'm referencing actual football, like with your feet. To any Americans out there, I'm talking about, for example, you may have, a person who may not have had a good performance, and you get people online just being able to state what they have to say and say it in such a way where it's like, you wouldn't say that maybe if someone was in person. And I think to myself, are fans allowed to do that? What are fans allowed to do in that regard? just things I look at and I think we're in a whole different time where social media now is just the norm. And yeah, if you want to say something, you say it. But I just also think what are fans allowed to do? But also, it's not just obviously, fans sometimes are just not just saying things without reason. There's sometimes when artists can, feel, emotional at times and sometimes just unleash on in certain regards. But we've seen that. We've seen back and forths with people who are like known, with their fellow fans or even just maybe rival fans. But it's an interesting one where I think, okay, what are fans allowed to do? When it comes to that. Even there's been like a running joke now with the fact that Rihanna hasn't released an album yet because she, has been doing her thing in, with a lot of ventures outside of music. So it's like fans over the years, I've always tried to get her to, you know, get back in the studio and release some music, but it's got to a point where it's like a running joke. Fans are just making one-liners online about, oh, Rihanna ain't gonna come back and do this and that. But I think to myself again, what are fans allowed to do? Are they allowed to do stuff like that where they're putting pressure to an extent on the person that they support? Again, maybe it depends on the person who, if Rihanna hears them, probably thinks, it's a joke now, so it's not a problem. But yeah, just little things and things of that nature that I think what our fans are allowed to do. You do it, but is that something that's allowed, or is it based on the fact that, hey, I support you, so I want to be able to say and voice what it is I want to voice, or I want to pull up on you while you're streaming, and be like, hey man, I saw you and now I'm here, sort of thing. Or yeah, what is the sort of things that fans are allowed to do? Because we're in a different time now, and I think to myself, it's interesting. You can literally straight go forward, say what you need to say on in the form of tweets, DMs, and yeah, is there a thing that fans are allowed and not allowed to do? Because I find the sort of environment right now or over the years quite interesting between fans and let's call them celebs or celebrities. But yeah, just wanted to find out what other people think about that, because fans will be fans. Fans will always show some support, show their support through investing in them, in people they like, following them. But what are they allowed to do? And is there anything that's off limits or off the table that fans aren't allowed to do? But it would be interesting to find out what people think.